And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Tuesday, August 23rd. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com, and here are some of the news stories from the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma has announced that the Cherokee Nation Supreme Court has upheld a constitutional amendment which requires all of the nation's citizens to have at least one Indian ancestor on the federally authorized Dawes rolls. The ruling says the amendment is effective immediately, ending the citizenship of approximately 2,800 members who enrolled in the nation between 2006 and 2007 under a March 2006 Supreme Court ruling. In March of 2007, the Cherokee people voted to amend the Constitution to allow only people with an Indian ancestor on the Dawes rolls to be citizens of the nation. Since that time, 2,800 freedmen enrolled with the nation have kept their rights of citizenship until the resolution of this particular court case. Youth Villages-ChristieCare of Oregon, a private nonprofit organization that helps children with emotional, behavioral, and mental health issues in and around Portland, Oregon, is looking for behavioral youth counselors for multiple positions working with Native American youth in its residential treatment programs. The organization, which operates 2 treatment campuses, is hiring behavioral youth counselors for its Cedar Bow program for Native American youth at its Klamath River campus and its Christie campus at Marielhurst. Both campuses help Native American children and children of other ethnic backgrounds. Children referred to youth villages have a wide variety of emotional, behavior, and mental health issues, but for more information, you can go to the URL youthvillages.org. North Dakota's Board of Higher Education has voted to retire the University of North Dakota's Fighting Sioux nickname by the end of this year. Last week's decision follows a meeting with NCAA President Mark Emmert. The North Dakota governor and legislative leaders weren't able to persuade Emmert to let the UND keep the nickname without any penalties. A state law says UND has to keep the nickname, but the legislature is expected to repeal that law during a special session this upcoming November. The Higher Education Board voted unanimously last week to retire the nickname by December 31st. Its motion says the process must be substantially complete by year's end. UND had wanted to retire the nickname before August 15th, but the approval of the state law blocked those plans. A federal judge on last week dismissed a request by a woman who claims she became the rightful governor of the Cheyenne Arapaho tribes after the elected governor was ousted from office. U.S. District Judge Stephen Freott ruled the court lacks jurisdiction in the cases filed by Leslie Harjo, who says Janice Boswell was impeached by tribal legislators and is no longer governor of the 13,000-member tribe. Quote, jurisdiction to resolve internal tribal disputes and to interpret tribal constitutions and laws lies within the Indian tribes and not within the district courts, Freott wrote in the 14-page order. Harjo can appeal the decision. The 55-year-old man was found lying on the side of the road on the Navajo Nation, a pack of dogs mauling him relentlessly. Emergency workers chased them away, but the pack, their ribs sticking out, kept trying to circle back. It was not determined whether the dogs or a seizure felled Larry Armstrong as he went for a walk near his rural home last December. An autopsy report said he died from the bites, but investigators were unable to determine if he was even conscious when he was attacked. Regardless, the case vividly underscored the problems the Navajo Nation and many other tribal lands have with stray, feral, or just neglected and loose dogs. On the vast Navajo Nation, wildlife and animal control manager Kevin Gleason estimates that there are 4 to 5 dogs for each of the more than 89,000 households. Are over 400,000 dogs, most of which roam unchecked, killing livestock and biting people with alarmingly regularity. Quote, our officers respond to more than 25 bite cases a month and 25 livestock damage cases a month, he said. You look at the Sundance area where that gentleman was killed. We went in and removed 79 dogs after that, and it looks like we never touched it, Gleason said. After Gleason added the animal control operations to his officer's duties last October, he said he ordered his men to conduct a series of roundups. Between October and April, he said his officers picked up 2,332 dogs. A 26-year-old Syracuse, New York man has pled guilty to shooting another man who complained about the quality of the cocaine he had just received. The U.S. Attorney's Office says Bayan Hunter pled guilty last week in federal court in Syracuse to possessing cocaine with intent to distribute and using a gun while involved in a drug crime. Prosecutors say Hunter admitted shooting the man with a .45 caliber handgun last August while the two were at a dam on the Onondaga Indian Nation just south of Syracuse. Authorities said Hunter said he shot the victim after he complained about the quality of the coke Hunter had distributed and sold to him. In a ceremony screened by tall willows, the Yurok tribe last week laid to rest a 45-foot gray whale that had delighted residents, passerbys, and scientists while swimming into the lower Klamath River with its calf nearly 2 months ago. With scientists by its side, the whale died after beaching itself on the northern bank of the river recently. Crowds of people gathered on the spot within sight of the U.S. Highway 101 bridge in an RV park where they had watched for weeks as it swam back and forth, seemingly taking pleasure in the attention. It's very sad, said Thomas O'Rourke, chairman of the Yurok tribe, whose reservation lines the banks of the river south of Crescent City, California. It started to become a part of the community. A large backhoe hauled the whale into the riverbank above the high tide line and dug a pit. O'Rourke said after singing a song and saying a prayer to send the whale on its journey to the afterlife, tribal members turned over the carcass to scientists for an examination. A burial followed shortly afterwards. There was no obvious reason why the whale died, says Don Goley, professor of zoology at Humboldt State University. Menominee Nation tribal officials say the federal government will withdraw its rejection of their plan for an off-reservation casino in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and reconsider the application. Tribal attorney Rory Delwig tells the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel the U.S. Department of Interior will tell the Menominee what portions of its 2004 casino application needs updating and will then review the tribe's proposal for an $800 million casino complex at the former Dairyland Dog Track. Menominee Chairman Ronald Chevalier says it definitely puts the project back online again. And that's going to be the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to say thanks for joining with us and come back again soon. Miigwech.